What is going on in rugby league at the moment? There is so many upsets and everything's going on. Any team could beat anyone. Like, it's absolutely crazy. If you have a look, like, I'm making this video before the Sunday games of round 3, so before the Bulldogs-Tigers game and the Raiders-Sharks game. But if you have a look so far, there's been 22 games of rugby league this season with 11 upsets. That's 50% chance that the underdog is going to win. Like, what is going on? Well, say underdog in terms of the team that is paying more with the bookies. But let's have a look at like the upsets we've had so far this season. So in round 1, Storm beat Para, Broncos beat the Panthers, Dolphins beat the Roosters, and the Titans beat the Tigers. Round 2, we had the Sharkies getting the dub over the Eels, the Dolphins beating the Raiders, the Dogs beating the Storm, and the Dragons beat the Titans. And then this round so far, I've already had the Roosters beating the Bunnies, Titans beat the Storm, and the Warriors beat the Cowboys. Ridiculous stuff. And the Dragons nearly had Broncos' number until the last 10 minutes there. And if you have a look at the ladder, it's honestly just off tap. So your top 4 at the moment is the Broncos, which, I mean, you started the season, you sort of think, yeah, okay, that's fair. Like, Broncos were good last year. They've brought in Reece Walsh. I can see him winning some games, get off to a good start. Second, with the record of 3 wins, 0 losses, the Dolphins. Right, I was having a look around at the draw, going, okay, where are the Dolphins going to get their first win from, let alone being 3-0, going in, like, next round, it's going to be a top 2 clash between the Broncos and the Dolphins. Like, who, if you had predicted that, I would have laughed at you. That's like, honestly just completely insane. Then in third, you've got Manly. Now again, it's Manly the kind of team you go, okay, they got Tommy Turbo back. They got a pretty good roster. Like, we've seen them be a top 4 team before. Look, you can sort of see that, but bro, the fashion they've got there, they've only played 2 games. They pumped the Doggies, and then they got a win over the Eels. Like, they're looking the goods, but okay, this team in 4th. So Dolphins in 2nd is one thing. The Warriors being in 4th after 3 rounds is like another thing that I was never ever expecting. They looked bloody good against the Cowboys last night. Like, whether that's like the Cowboys just being not as good as we thought, or the Warriors just stepping up to the plate, they weren't even that bad against the Roosters. So there's a world where they're 3-0. Heading into the 4th round, which is like honestly insane. They've recruited so well. Andrew Webster looks like a pretty good coach. The Warriors, just in general, they're back to being one of the exciting teams that you just want to watch every time they're playing. 5th is the Titans. Can you believe they went and lost to the Dragons, and the week after they go and beat the Storm? That's honestly insane. I can't believe the Storm lost to the Titans out of every single team they could lose to. But hey, like, that's rugby league this season, obviously, and it's a good thing for the game that you can't really predict who's going to win. And like, I suppose we've had I think there's been 2 games maybe this year that a team's paid $6 or something. Like, the Dolphins in round 1 were paying $6-7, went out and beat the Chookies. Like, it's so good. And then the Roosters in 6th, like, I think a lot of people, including myself, thought they'd be up there. And I mean, they're notoriously slow starters, but losing to the Dolphins in their first game, anyway. 7th got the Dragons. Like, this is a lot better than I expected. I was looking around going, where are we going to get our first win from? And we managed to beat the Titans, and we looked pretty good against the Broncos. Like, there's good signs there. Obviously, like, the last 10 minutes was absolutely diabolical, and I want to scrub that from my memory. And then Sharkies next week's going to be tough as well. But look, there's some good. They're playing a lot better footy than I thought. Hopefully, fingers crossed, won't get the wooden spoon. But then Panthers, they've been pretty touch and go. They've got the Eels next week, so they could be 1 and 2. Obviously, they've got the bye this week. But yeah, anyway, we'll get to the Eels. Oof. Rabbitohs, they're 1 and 2, but they've had a pretty tough draw. They've lost to the Roosters as well as the Panthers. So like, it's sort of, that's a bit excusable, and probably honestly where you think they'd be. Like, they've played some good footy, and I think if you're a Rabbitohs fan, obviously you're not going to be worried about being in 9th for the whole season. Sharkies, they're a bit hit and miss, honestly. Like, we'll have to see how they play against the Raiders. Like, these guys, they could jump right up to 4th if they have a good enough win. Like, they got to beat the Raiders by 20, which definitely isn't out of the question for the Sharkies. Obviously, they haven't had Nico Hines yet either, which is exciting for them. But yeah, look, if they lose to the Raiders tonight, then you get a little bit like, oh, I don't know how they're going to go. So obviously, in the first round, they had that game against the Rabbitohs where they played good, but like, the Rabbitohs just had that extra quality in there. And then last week, they got a shock win, I'd say, over the Eels, especially because the Eels started so fast. They were up, 12-14-0 before the Sharks even got on the score sheet. So I don't know, if you're a Sharkies fan, I'd be pretty happy with what I've seen so far, considering that they've been competitive in like both games, and as I said before, no Nico Hines, so like if they can get the win over the Raiders there and push themselves up the ladder, they're building some confidence into their next game against the Dragons. And then you've got the Storm. What's going on to go with the Storm? Like, obviously you've lost like Munster, he's out, but God, you expect they would have got a win over the Doggies or the Titans. Like, yes, Munster's a good player, but man, like, I suppose I've had a few injuries. Like, they've got they've barely had any forward pack, I suppose. Kevin Kamitha came back this round, but then Asafa Solomona was out, and it's like, so you play some like for like. Tarek Sims didn't come back till yesterday, and I don't know, they just look real shaky. Surely you'd think that even without Munster, they'd be able to get a win over those two teams. Like, end of the day, they're still the Storm. So yeah, worrying signs for the Storm. I say that in terms of, I don't know if, well, it's been 3 rounds, if they're premiership threats as such anymore. I think they're still a good side, still a top 8 quality side, but it's almost, they don't seem to be the powerhouse that they once were. And if Pappenhausen comes back and plays good footy, then the rhetoric changes straight away. But it's still a big what if. Like, the bloke wasn't running 6 months after his injury, so I don't know. There is cause for concern if you are a Storm fan, as much as I hate to admit that. Now, go on over to the Newcastle Knights. Oh, they have looked pretty poor, to be honest. They went over to New Zealand. I guess they've been, apart from like Dolphins ran away with it in the end on Friday night, but they have been competitive in their games. So like Warriors didn't beat them by too much. Like, they very easily could have got the win there. Like, then they beat the Tigers in a very gritty game at Leichhardt, which is a big win and impressive for any team. Like, yeah, it's the Tigers, but the Tigers at Leichhardt is still a different beast. And then you go by the Dolphins. They were in it. They were up. They looked okay. They just couldn't steal the win. And I think, like, obviously no Ponga doesn't help. But I don't know. They're just, the Knights don't excite me in any way, shape, or form. They got the Raiders next week, so I have to wait and see how they play against the Sharkies, the Savo, before making a judgment call on that. But whoa, like, I don't know. The Knights are a team on paper. They're really, really good. They've got a really good forward pack, and if Jackson Hastings and Kalen Ponga can combine and play well, and then Lockie Miller had a good game on Friday night, if he can hit his straps, you also got Strike Centers and Dangai and Bradman Best if they can play their best footy. Like, they're a team on paper that should be making the finals or thereabouts, and you wonder whether that's an issue that you have to look at with the coaching staff or whatnot. But man, the Knights, they should be able to jag some wins. Like, I would have thought that they could have potentially at least got over the Dolphins. I don't know. They're looking like probably one of the lowest teams in the comp this season, unfortunately for them. I'll move to a team that's definitely underachieving so far. The North Queensland Cowboys. There is no excuse to that loss against the Warriors yesterday. Like, okay, you had no Scott Drinkwater, but the Warriors didn't have Chancellor Klukstad either, who's been a pretty integral part of their team so far. I don't know. So they've lost to the Warriors. They've also taken an L to the Broncos, which I mean, that one's sort of not excusable. It's not the right word, but you can see that happening because the Broncos look like the form team in the competition so far. But man, how on earth, like, they just looked pretty bad. I don't think they'd be very happy being 1-2 and being in 14th position. They've got the Titans next week, and as much as you look at that and go, oh yeah, they'll win that. The Titans come out and play like they did like last night and take away some of the errors. It's a pretty tough game, and that's what I'm saying about like the comp this year. You've got no idea who's going to rock up and take the win, and it's really exciting. As a neutral fan, it sucks when you're putting your balls on the line and predicting tips and stuff, and everyone's just there roasting you. But hey, like, that's life. But geez, then we got in 15th, we got the Raiders, who, like, if they get a win, they can jump up some spots there. But so yeah, if they get a win, we'll say I'll probably put them in around that 10th spot. But they're 0-2, down in a bit of confidence. Lost to the Dolphins last week in a close game, but like, the Dolphins got the job done. I don't know how I feel about the Raiders. I'm a little bit iffy. Like, they never really have, but they don't excite me in any way. I think, so, and Papali'i, rather, isn't back just yet. So, like, they could be 0-3. And that's another team that you look at and go, how on earth, you wouldn't expect the Raiders to be 0-3. Like, yeah, they're a team for me. I probably don't have them in the 8 this year, but I would have thought they would have at least got one scalp and started like their season off like a bit better than they have. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Raiders fans, people who watch the Raiders, on how they've been so far? I haven't actually been able to watch too much of the Raiders, but look, I don't think they've been that bad. And then the Eels, the Parramatta Eels, 0-3. potentially 0-5. They got the Panthers off the bye, then the Roosters off the bye. Tough times. Like, I mean, like, they're 0-3 with a for and against of -12, which shows you like how Para have been. Like, they've been close in those games, and every single time they probably should be 3-0. If I'm honest, like, they probably shouldn't have lost that Storm game. Definitely shouldn't have lost that Sharks game, and probably shouldn't have lost that one against Manly. And I think if you look at the last 2 weeks, the most concerning thing is the fact that they scored 26 and 30 points, and then couldn't get the win. Like, they're leaking so many points, which isn't something that you've said about the Parasides the last couple of years. They're usually quite solid defensively. I don't know what the issue is there, because I did a bit of research. I thought, okay, like, Para, they got a really, really good four-pack, and that's where they win their games. They muscle up in the forwards, and then they let the backs do the talking. Junior Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard are averaging more meters than they ever have in their career. So are the halves. They've got Jermaine Hopgood just doing everyone's work. Josh Hodgson hasn't been that poor. I don't actually know what the issue is. I think, honestly, it is the second rowers. Matt Doorey, much as he's a decent player, he hasn't been setting the world alight, and like, I think his run meters are down. His work ethic, work rate is down from like a Papali'i from the last couple of years, and then over the other side, Bryce Cartwright's good, but probably more of a bench player. So I think like they have been stitched up by the fact that Sean Lane's got an injury, and then Ryan Matterson is just a dog and can't pay his fine. Yeah, look, it's a different 0-3 to than if the Tigers go 0-3, like, because they've been pretty poor. We'll get into them in a second, but I don't know. It's interesting because if you're 0-5, then you're sort of looking around. Like, then you got the Tigers on Easter Monday, which is like always a close game, apart from when Mitch Moses scores a match-winning try and they put 50 on him, but. I don't know, it's a weird thing because I still see the Eels making the finals, but if they get to an 0-5, 0-6 start, then it's very hard to come back from that just mentally. But yeah, I think they'll be fine. Once they get Sean Lane and Ryan Matterson back, they'll be a completely different side. Over to the West Tigers. Look, the way this round has gone, like, I'm going to be releasing this video, I think, after the game. It's either going to be like just before or after. Watch the Tigers now come out and beat the Bulldogs at Belmore. Like, that's just that's just the way the footy's been this year. Man, they look so poor though. Even though they've signed Coruscant and Papali'i, and I mean Bateman potentially could be playing this afternoon, they just look off the pace. I don't know what it is. Where like they're defensively, I mean, they've been okay, I suppose, but it's just like their attack for a team that was meant to have a new look, exciting, like really good attack, they've just offered nothing. I don't know whether that's just they haven't gelled just yet with Coruscant, those like that rest of that spine, but I don't know. They look off the pace, and if they're a Tigers fan, got to be disappointed. You've been given hope, and then they've just torn it down. But yeah, look, it's as I said before, it's round 3. Could be looking at this video in 4 months' time going, Jesus Christ, shut up. So, but yeah, what do you reckon of the footy this year? I think it's been outstanding from a neutral standpoint. The fact that we've had half the game so far being won by the underdog. But, I mean, it's good and bad. It depends who you are. If you're a Warriors fan, you're loving it. If you're a Storm fan, you hate it. But yeah, let me know what you thought about the footy so far in the comments, and like and subscribe to the channel for more content.